I could mess up the filing system, I suppose, if I wanted the butler to eviscerate me with sarcasm the next time I saw him. A far better plan would be to use the index to look up a book on a particular subject. I found a copy of Orange Crates on the Nature of Plants. The book was a tediously detailed study of the plant kingdom, and one of the most boring things I've ever read. But I found the moss in there. Apparently it was a lycanthrope, a type of animate moss with crude locomotion, found only in the worst sewers in the most decrepit urban areas. Apparently the lycanthrope looked like harmless moss until something to eat walked by. Then they transformed into a deadly lichen and devoured their prey, at least as long as it was small enough. Otherwise they just clung on for dear life. I checked through the library and found some ancient plans of the city of Ankh. There was an intricate sewer system beneath the city. It must be thousands of years old. It would be in quite a state if it was still around, and as far as I could tell, it would be under the waterline if there wasn't a drought on. Given the rains that we'd had recently, I could only find one section of sewer that might be above water. There was a shallow sewer running from the Magenta Bridge around the rimward side of the Royal Winter Palace of the Kings of Ankh, now the home of the Patrician. I guess the designers weren't allowed to put sewers under the palace grounds, which might have been why the Royal Summer Palace of the Kings of Ankh was a long way from Ankh-Morpork. That and the stench of the river Ankh, anyway. The ancient civic plans from the library led me straight to the sewer's entrance, not far from the Magenta Bridge. A relatively small tunnel was concealed beneath a pile of debris that must have accumulated over the centuries. It looked as if most of the tunnels here were actually still above the water line, or the sludge line, to be more honest about it. The smell of the Ankh was unbearably strong in the sewer, and it was all I could do to remain conscious. The trail that I had seen in the cemetery seemed to continue down in the sewers, starting at one of the pipes and disappearing into the passageways. It was almost drowned out by the smell of the Ankh, though. There was all manner of debris piled up inside the niche. It looked like some kind of nest. I was strongly reminded of what I'd found in the Milka's cargo hold, only this nest seemed bigger somehow. Amongst the garbage was some kind of pendant. Amongst the garbage was some kind of pendant. As I stood in the alcove examining the pendant, I felt as if I wasn't alone. It was the same presence I'd felt in the milker's hold. I could feel the cold touch of death upon me. It was a strangely light touch. Size obviously isn't important, I agree. You are Death, right? Rats have their own death? No offense, I mean, you're very, very intimidating. For a skeletal rat, at least. So what's your connection to the big guy? You're sort of like relatives, then. You probably get together for birthdays and hogwatch night. I'd like to see that. If you don't mind me asking, were you on the Milka before? I thought so. What were you doing on the Milka? Uh-huh. No, please, go on. Did you see anything? Well, I don't know, anything unusual. Anything else? Yeah, I saw that. And that's here. This is its lair. It can't be very big. That's not very comforting. But I guess that's not your job, but comfort, I mean. I wasn't suggesting you weren't good at your job. I've never looked at it that way before. I couldn't believe it. I was talking to a phantasmal rodent. I hoped he couldn't read my thoughts. He seems easily offended. So, what's it like being the death of rats? You don't get to talk much, do you? Well, it was nice meeting you. I have to get going. It's not like that. I have a lot of work to do. You too, huh? It always looked much easier in the clickies. Can I ask you a few questions?
Well, we are a little busy at the moment. Can it wait?
How long?
Just a day or so.
No, then it can't wait.
Very well. What did you want to know?
Do either of you recognize this? Is of much familiarness. From where? Near sort being somewhere near. Yesness. Seal on temple in Alkali. It's the seal on the doors of a temple?
May I see?
Sure, why not?
Yes, I recognize that. That's from the temple with the intricate door locking mechanism, isn't it? Quite a marvel of technology for the era it was built, those doors. I was very impressed with them. Now, what was the name of the god it was dedicated to? I can't quite remember.
I know.
I am sure you do, but Give me a moment and it'll come to me.
I think he meant it's from the Temple of Anu Anu.
Ah, yes. I remember. The Temple of Anu Anu at Al-Khali. A lovely building.
And this is a replica of the seal. Of much sureness. Replica of most exactitude. That might be helpful to know. Thanks. I decided to leave them to their work. I doubted they even noticed I was gone. Wanted, bedmaker and laundryman for unseen university. $2 for each day survived. Contact Mrs Fomes at the new hall. Unseen University was positioned along a large stretch in the River Ankh, and its campus was convoluted enough that it was hard to tell where the university ended and the city began. It would be wrong to say that the people of the city respected the wizards of the university, and it would be wrong to say that they hated them. In fact, all you could really say was that both the citizens and the wizards were glad of the wall that stopped them from having to socialize on a daily basis. Mrs Fomes?
Yes, I am she. What do you want?
May I come in?
No, you may not.
I've come about the job.
Is that a fact? Very well, you may enter, but wipe your feet. I won't have the help messing up the carpets. Now, you've come for the job, Mr.
Lewton. And yes, I am interested in the job.
Well, as the head chambermaid, the decisions about hiring staff falls on my shoulders. Do you have any experience?
No, but I'm a fast learner.
Well, the pay is $2 a day. There are no perks. If you want it, it's yours.
Can you tell me about Unseen University?
It's not the business of help to discuss their employers.
I'll take the job. When do I start?
You can start now by making the beds. The dorm is through that door. I advise you to leave before the students get back.
Why?
Boys will be boys, Mr. Lewton, and apprentice wizards are the worst kind of boys imaginable.
Is it dangerous working here? Only I heard that one of the wizards was murdered.
Don't let that bother you, Mr. Lewton. The affairs of the staff are not our concern.
You don't think I'm in any danger?
Goodness, no. The odd death is just the natural course of campus politics, I'm afraid. It's a shocking turn of affairs, but we mustn't question it. Dead men's pointy boots, and all that.
Dead men's pointy boots?
Yes. No questions asked as to the manner of their emptying, if you know what I mean.
I see. I guess I'd better get to work.
Very good.
Mrs Fomes could probably see me from there. The dorm was full of the jangling scents of the students, but the most surprising thing was the Octarine Board. As a wolf, I smelt the words on the board. The chalk marks showed up as sparkling traces against the odorless board. It seemed to be a list of subjects the young apprentices were studying. Occult perils of lace-making, basic myth and monsters, principles of thaumic imponderability, and temples of the Great Nev. Under the list of subjects were the words, "You must read a chapter on each before the next lecture." The only interesting thing I could find in the unlocker was some books. What have we got? Occult Primer, Monster Fun Grimoire, Fullamyth, The Theory of Thaumic Imponderability, Lost Temples of the Great Nev. Given the smell of the unlocker, I was grateful it was locked. I searched the unlocker but found nothing I wanted to think too hard about. Unlike the other unlockers, this one seemed to be levitating a few inches above the ground. Probably one of the students' cantrips that hadn't worn off yet. As for the unlocker's contents, the less said about them, the better. I tried to write on the Octarine board with the chalk, but I couldn't see what I was writing. The chalk marks were invisible to my eyes. I altered one of the subjects on the board, switching the Great Nev for Al-Kali. Now all I had to do was see if anyone took the bait.
What are you doing here?
The name's Lewton. I'm working for Mrs Fomes.
You're the new bedmaker, eh? Well, you can't come any further than this, Lewton. Wizards only in the library, ain't you?
Wizards only?
Well, wizards, apprentices, and orangutans.
Are you a porter?
No, I'm a bledlow. And there's a difference, all right?
What's a bledlow?
We look after the students.
Look after them?
Just like the watch looks after the city.
You throw your weight around and beat them senseless when they do something wrong?
That's about the size of it, yeah. You don't mess with the lobsters.
Lobsters?
Just a nickname we've picked up over the years.
Why?
If you see us get our hands on a student, you'll understand.
You make it sound like you're hunting them down.
Of course. All students are guilty of everything.
Where are all the students?
They're off playing Unseen University Challenge against the students from the Assassin's Guild.
What does that involve?
I don't know. Given the way most sports are conducted round here, it probably involves a very careful inspection of half the pubs in Ankh-Morpork.
What makes you say that?
Heard of the city and guilds?
No.
When the guilds started setting up their own colleges, there was a lot of rivalry between the various students.
Rivalry?
Well, the university students used to be ambushed by gangs from the guilds, really.
used to be.
Well, given the faculty's relaxed attitude to sudden death, most of the staff prefer dead students on account of them being easier to teach. But I gather the guilds decided that enough was enough because all the bodies around the place made it very hard to open doors.
So what did they do?
They founded the City and Guilds Match. See, the idea was to carry a football right from the outskirts of the Shades to the Tower of Art, goals being scored by kicking the ball through the door of certain landmarks.
What sort of landmarks?
The sort with names like the Mended Drum and the Bunch of Grapes. The scoring team was bought drinks by the other teams, you see. And after a few years, the Arch-Chancellor ruled that only one goal could be scored in each pub since the match had for 3 years running. It had gone on for a month.
What's this got to do with Unseen University Challenge?
Well, the university tends to leave the City and Guilds Match to the guilds. They prefer a more cerebral challenge.
Such as going straight to the pub, not passing go, and not bothering to come back?
That'd be my guess, yes.
So they're not coming back?
Well, they'll be back. They need to come to the library to get their course books.
I hear the reader of esoteric occultism was murdered.
Yep. Old Mathan was so full of poison, even the worms wouldn't touch him.
He was poisoned?
That's right. Right here in the Widdershins wing of the university.
You don't sound concerned.
I just keep an eye on the students. The wizards can do what they like to each other.
Well, I'd better leave you to it. My usual, please.
Lewton, you're...
What? Is my tie not done up straight? Is there an unfortunate mark on my nose?
I heard you were dead.
Perhaps I am. Get me a stiff drink. How about a whiskey?
Don't you want something with it?
All right, put another whiskey in there.
Drinking like that'll kill you.
I'm dead already. You didn't come back here to drink, did you? I hear a prominent merchant has been killed. Heard anything about it?
All I heard was that someone in the Merchants Guild got killed. That's all I know.
See you around.
Yeah, whatever.
Sapphire had a collection of trawl cosmetics, a granite filing stone, some colored sand, and various bottles. Dark cyan was the most prevalent smell in the dressing room. There was a booming bass quality to the scent. There was a hint of an apple-colored scent in the air. The cyan stench was coming from a bottle of perfume. The scent was too weak for me to really remember it. The empty barrels were surrounded by a cloying red mist, and it had the shrill pitch of red wine, if I wasn't mistaken. The garbage was giving off a distinctive green cloud, not dissimilar to the smell of the river Ankh. One of the empty barrels had a faint magenta trace to it. Although they were similar, one had a much sharper quality. The two scents had a superficial similarity. One was more supernatural than the other, though. Definitely the same scent as my killer, which meant whoever it was made it into the palace concealed in a wine barrel. Why did that bring to mind the phrase, "You wait, time passes," and Thorin sits down and starts singing about gold? One of the empty barrels had a faint... I had a long wait, but it paid off. The magenta scent was too faint for me to remember it well. It was the same scent as my killer's. The only noticeable scent in the hallway was someone's trail which led to the double doors. The double doors were more stately than the others leading from the hall. I reckoned that it led to the oblong office, the Patrician's personal sanctum. As a wolf, my hearing was dramatically improved. I could recognize one of the voices as Commander Vimes, and the other voice had the calculating tones of Lord Vetinari, the Patrician of Ankh-Morpork.
Are you any closer to a solution for our mutual problem?
No, sir. I've been occupied.
Indeed. And what could occupy you?
There was a string of copycat killings. I've been trying to solve them.
And have you?
No. My lead suspect was killed.
That is very unfortunate.
It certainly was for Lewton.
So there has been no progress in determining who killed Sapphire.
Not as such.
I had been given to understand that this was precisely the situation you were well equipped to handle.
I will solve this case, sir. You can count on me.
Do you recall what I said the city reminds me of?
You said it reminds you of a clock, sir.
Indeed. Big wheels and little wheels, all turning at different speeds to keep the machine working. That, after all, is the most important thing. The machine keeps going.
You've told me this before.
Do you know why it keeps working?
Because you want it to keep working?
I'm flattered that you think I have such importance. But no, it keeps running because the people believe it will keep running. Faith is a powerful force.
There is a point to this, sir?
I always have a point. Sometimes it's sharper than others.
I'm sorry. Continue.
One of my clerks has been found face down in a vat of wine, and that makes it appear as if the administration has lost control.
And the administration is me, right?
We are all the administration. You do the work, and I take both the credit and the blame. Provided I do not take the blame, I am content. I trust I make myself clear.
Perfectly.
Suddenly, I could smell blood. It filled up my senses like a night in a forest. Except a night in a forest didn't make me want to tear someone's throat out. I didn't know whether the guard had cut himself or if I was just developing a healthy bloodlust, like any young werewolf. But I couldn't control myself. The next thing I knew, I was in my office. I had no idea how I got there, how I got my coat out of the palace, or where I'd got a traffic cone from. It had been that sort of night. I was sitting at my desk, thinking over the case, when there was a knock at the door.
I understand you've been a busy boy, Lewton.
It's a busy life when you're a private investigator. Plus, you get to see interesting foreign places and learn a trade.
There was a commotion at the palace last night. Perhaps you know about it?
What goes on at the palace has nothing to do with me.
Indeed it is not. And if, for some reason, you did take an interest in the palace, I'm sure you would not be so foolish as to be caught breaking into the palace.
Of course not. Think I'm suicidal?
Strange you should say that. I heard you'd been killed.
I expect you hear a lot of things that aren't true. I bet someone has to explain them to you using very small words.
The thing is, the intruder at the palace appears to have been a werewolf.
There's a lot of that around this time of year, I understand. Must be the moon.
I paid my respects to your grave.
Oh, that was nice of you.
It was empty.
Oh, you know how it is. I get claustrophobic in narrow spaces.
So do werewolves, perhaps?
I wouldn't know about that.
Remember when I said how disappointed I was that I couldn't take you out for free?
Oh, that was a very touching sentiment.
Well, Lord Vetinari has generously offered to pay for the inhumation of last night's intruder.
He has a big heart.
It's a shame no one can find it.
Was there a point to your visit?
I was just passing through. Thought you might benefit from my advice.
How generous of you.
Well, I'll be on my way.
The door's behind you. I can explain how to use it if you want.
Watch your steps, Lewton. I will be.
The Merchants' Guild was the youngest of the Ankh-Morpork guilds, founded in self-defense by the city's traders and shopkeepers when they realized their role in the grand scheme of things was to be robbed. Robbing fat merchants, it seemed, was a perfectly socially acceptable, even heroic thing to do. Consequently, they weren't the friendliest of guilds either. I wasn't holding out much hope that they'd help me. Evening.
Usually is when the sun sets.
Is everyone in this city a smart aleck?
Who's he?
He used to be a regular at the Mended Drum. He made a reputation as a know-it-all.
Used to be?
The Mended Drum is a bad place to use the phrase no.
Where did they find his body?
The Shades. And the Diesel Gate. His kidney down a well in Dolly's sister's, I think. Bits of his innards all over the place. Sounds like he had a lot of guts. So how did you end up working on the door?
There's only so many good positions to go around.
I take it this isn't one of them.
Oh, it's not that bad. I get to hear all the interesting news with this job.
And has anything interesting happened recently?
Oh, yes.
Such as?
We got a new kettle. Much nicer than the one with the leak that we used to use.
You boiled water in a kettle with a hole?
Well, we made a lot of steam anyway. It wouldn't stay in the cups, though.
And that's the most exciting thing that's happened here.
Oh, exciting. If you want exciting, you should see the new colour scheme in the coin shaving room.
Come on. Someone was murdered. Wasn't that exciting?
Oh, sure.
Why didn't you mention that?
A guild policy. We're not to discuss the incident with outsiders.
What's all this about coin shaving?
You haven't heard of coin shaving?
No, I didn't even know they grew hair.
Well, you take a coin and you carefully shave off some of the gold, which you can then melt down and sell. Easy money.
I think I see a problem with that.
Yeah?
Well, I didn't think there was any gold in Ankh-Morpork dollars.
Well, there isn't. Not anymore. We kind of shaved them too much.
So what do you use the coin shaving room for?
We keep the kettle there. It sets off the new decor superbly.
That's why you redecorated it?
No, we used to keep the old kettle there, only all the wallpaper fell down.
I don't understand. Why is it guild policy not to discuss the murder?
Well, as you probably know, we formed the guild to stop the dreadful habit of visiting heroes robbing all the fat merchants.
Yeah, I heard that.
Ah, yonder lies a fat merchant, they'd cry, using that special landlord a flagon of your finest ale hero talk. Let us relieve him of some of his ill-gotten gains. Pon my scalliard. Next thing you know, they've robbed you blind. That's the thanks you get for years of service.
Years of service, carefully mixing sand in the sugar and switching the number plates of the donkey carts.
Hey, that's a very stilted view. What about all the other top-quality bargains we offer?
Ah, yes. All those once-in-a-lifetime, never-to-be-repeated, absolutely didn't fall off the back of a cart offers.
Exactly. Plus, we keep the economy of the city running.
By giving small sums to the less smelly beggars?
Annually, yes.
You were telling me about guild policy.
Ah, yes. Anyway, it was decided that it would be the Merchants Guild's policy to fully further the aims of its members, advertise the civic charms of Ankh-Morpork, and beat 7 kinds of hell out of anyone with a leather loincloth.
Advertise the civic charms of Ankh-Morpork?
Are you saying you don't like Ankh-Morpork?
Oh, no. Absolutely not. I heard what you guys did to Castroaster.
Damn straight. He got tired real quick.
This doesn't explain why you can't discuss the murder with me.
Well, the Merchants Guild is supposed to be the shining beacon that shows the rest of the world how unsurpassably wonderful Ankh-Morpork is.
By robbing them blind?
Boy, watch it.
Sorry. Continue.
Anyway, the point is, it's bad publicity if we're seen to have a murder in our ranks.
Couldn't you sell it as a tourist attraction?
What?
You know, come to Ankh-Morpork, site of the infamous counterweight killings.
Show some respect. A merchant lies dead, struck down in his prime.
So do half a dozen other people.
True, but they weren't merchants.
So how exactly do you go about advertising the civic charms of Ankh-Morpork?
We pursue those misguided people who publicly fail to recognize the many attractive points of this fine city.
Pursue?
Yes, we hire large gangs of men with ears like fists and fists like walnuts to point out that Ankh Moorpork is in fact a marvellously clean and decent city in which to live. A process whose ongoing nature might be swiftly curtailed if they don't shut up right now.
I suspect they see sense.
Oh yes, even if their eyes are a bit swollen.
About this merchant that was killed.
Sorry, I'm not allowed to discuss the incident with outsiders. A guild policy.
It wouldn't hurt to tell me the broad details, would it?
It would hurt a lot. They'd throw me off the roof.
No one's going to know.
I'd know about hitting the ground.
Is it really that important to you?
The Merchants Guild takes its policies very seriously.
So it seemed. I had to find a way to exploit that. I hear up at the Unseen University they talk about dead men's pointy boots.
Yes, I've heard of that.
Really?
Yes, they ask no questions about how a wizard's shoes were emptied.
Operate the same policy here, do you?
What? Hey, what are you implying?
Well, you know. Here you are, stuck on the door. Then a merchant gets killed, leaving a vacancy in the hierarchy.
I did not kill Gaming.
But there aren't any witnesses to that, are there?
There aren't any witnesses at all. He was alone in the guild house when... Oops.
Thanks for the information.
Wait. Don't tell anyone I said anything. They'll lynch me.
I'll keep quiet if you tell me everything you know.
No, I've already said too much.
Well, it was good while it lasted. Now all I had to find out was how Gaiman had been killed. And I had a feeling I wasn't going to learn that here. Well, goodbye for now.
Who would Sire like to see this time?
Can I see the Count?
I am not in a position to know how good your vision is, but you may see the Count, which I believe is what Sir actually meant in Sir's untutored way.
Still here, I see.
In a sense.
Does dead men's pointy boots mean anything to you?
They use it at the Unseen University, do they not?
So I understand.
It is accurate. The wizards do have pointy boots. It's traditional.
I think it has some other meaning.
That would explain why I have heard it mentioned in the guilds. Their boots are seldom pointy.
Have you heard about the recent murder of a rich merchant?
Of course.
You were there?
Well, yes. I have to be. But this is very irregular.
Of course. You know about all these murders, don't you? I mean, you're basically an accessory after the fact. Or possibly before the fact.
Young man, I am the fact.
Well, tell me everything you know.
Are you sure? It would take millions of years.
I meant about this case. We could stop anyone else from being killed.
No. Absolutely not. You can't expect me to be a witness in a murder inquiry. I'm going to take the fifth.
The fifth what?
No one ever says what fifth. They just take it. And I'll have the 6th, 7th, and 15th through 23rd, just to be on the safe side.
So you won't tell me anything?
Oh, lots of things. I like to talk to a man who likes to talk.
But you won't tell me anything about the murders?
I will not. Supposing that caught on. You think I want to spend every day in a witness box?
Even though Death said he wouldn't tell me anything, I had a suspicion that I might be able to learn something if I could just trip him up. I'd have to be careful, though. The last thing I wanted was to get Death upset with me. He's not a guy you want as your enemy. Can you tell me anything about Matham's murder?
I already told you that I cannot discuss the details of my work with you.
Do you know anything about Cypher's murder?
I already told you that I cannot discuss the details of my work with you.
Do you know anything about the counterweight killings?
I already told you that I cannot discuss the details of my work with you.
According to the Gatekeeper at the Merchants Guild, nobody witnessed Gaiman's stabbing.
Gaiman wasn't stabbed.
Really? How did he die?
He was strangled.
Thanks.
Blast. I didn't see that one coming.
Well, goodbye. I'm sure we'll meet again.
Oh, you can be certain of it. Incidentally, I rather like your hard-boiled monologues.
You do?
Oh, yes. And of course, the way you can actually think out of the corner of your mouth, very impressive.
I didn't know I was doing it.
Oh, yes. Take that, you doity rat. Wonderful stuff. Very entertaining. You know, sometimes I've wondered if I should take the scythe around in a violin case. It would certainly add to the atmosphere of menace and uncertainty.
Really?
Of course, I don't play the violin. And I can't talk out of the corners of my mouth. It's a great shame.